Welcome to week 8 answers. These questions here are from a calculator paper, so it would be good to have your calculators ready as well. So my first question asked me to write 90% as a fraction. Well, I know that 90% means 90 out of 100, which I can write as 90 over 100. I don't need to simplify the question because I've not asked me to. Question 2 then says, write down 3 different multiples of 12. 3 different multiples of 12. I'm going to keep this easy and simple for myself. I'm just going to write out the multiples of 12. So 1 12 is 12, 2 12s are 24, 3 12s are 36. And I can stop now because I have written down 3 different multiples of 12. 12, 24 and 36. Important I write down 3 and important that they're all different. Now question 3 asked me to write 32 litres into millilitres. Milli usually relates to 1,000 because in 1 litre there are 1,000 millilitres. Therefore, in 3.2 litres, there will be 3,200 millilitres. Okay. You will need to know this for your GCSE. My next question is a calculator question, and it asks me to work out 25% of 100. So my calculator, I can write 25 over 100 multiplied by 120 and put that into my calculator. So 25, I'm going to use my fraction button, 25 over 100 multiplied by 120 to get an answer of 30. Okay, what I'm going to do all the time is I'm always going to check that what I've written down here is exactly the same as what's on my calculator before I press the button. So the answer there is 30. Right, question 5 has asked me to write down the square number that is closest to 20. The square number that is closest to 20. Now, you may not know all your square numbers. You may remember 1, 4, 9, 16 and so on, but you may not know them all the way up to 200. So again, it's something we could use our calculator for by using the squared button on our calculator to find out. So I'm going to start off with 10 squared because I know that's 100. So I need to go bigger. So I'm going to go 11 squared is 121. Still not that close to 200. So I'm going to do 12 squared is 144. Getting closer, but still not there yet. So 13 squared is 169. We're getting there slowly, guys. 14 squared is 196. That's really, really close to 200. I'm just going to check though, because I'm also going to do 15 squared, which gives me an answer of 225. So the square number that is closest to 200 is going to be 196. Question 6 talks about shapes now. So here we have all 4-sided shapes in this quadrilateral are the same length. Write down the mathematical name for this quadrilateral. Now, the quadrilateral, which has 4 sides which are the same lengths, could be a square. But I also know that a square, all the angles are 90 degrees. So it's not a square. It looks like it could be a parallelogram. But a parallelogram normally has the little arrows. In this case, this shape is called a rhombus. And a rhombus is a 4-sided quadrilateral where the sides are the same length but the angles may be different. And in question B, it wants me to write down the mathematical name of this three-dimensional shape. Well, it is a pyramid. But if I look at the base of this pyramid, it's a square, so I can call it a square-based pyramid to get my marks. You may have a triangular-shaped pyramid, triangular-based pyramid as well. So on to the next question. A bit more work to do on this question, but we do have our calculator. So here is a triangle and a circle. The length AB is 25, the length CD is 16. I can also see that the radius of the circle is 8 centimetres. And the question says to show clearly that the area of the circle is greater than the area of the triangle. So therefore, I need to work out the area of the circle and the area of the triangle. So the area of the circle is the formula A equals pi r squared. Again, this is something you will need to know for your exam. The radius up over here, I've already discovered, is 8 centimetres. So it's going to be pi times 8 squared, and I use my calculator. Now, on my calculator I have a shift button for the pi times 8 squared, which gives me a total of 64 pi. Oops, not totally clear for you. 64 pi. If I press my SD button, I get the answer of 201.061998, and that of course is centimetres squared because it's the area. Now when I look at the area of the triangle, I'm going to use the formula A equals half the base times the perpendicular height, which in this case is a half times 25 times 16, and again I can use my calculator. Half times 25 times 16, and I get an answer of 200 centimetres squared. I can see that both answers are very close to each other, but it shows that the area of the circle is greater than the area of the triangle. Now, question 16 is a quite common sort of question, asking me to use my calculator to work out that sum there. The key with it is to make sure that I check. So in my calculator, I'm going to make sure I've got exactly that down. So I'm going to use my fraction button to type in 3.08 square cubed. Direction button just to get out of the way. Then I'm going to subtract pi, again using the shift button. And on the bottom I've got the square root of 22. I now have to use my direction button just to make sure that the square root sign doesn't go all the way along, and from that I'm going to subtract 3. Just going to check again. 3.08 to the power of 3 minus pi equals over the square root of 22 to the way 3. Happy it's the same, press my equals button, and I get the big answer of 15.4260981. It tells me to write out all the figures on my calculator display, so I have. Now I need to round my answer to 4 significant figures. So I'm going to write out that number again. 15.4260981. Here's my first significant figure. Here's my second, my third, and my fourth. Now I notice there's a 6 there, so the 6 is going to round that 2 up to a 3 to give me 15.43. Excellent. Now, question 17 on the homework asks me to factorise Factorise means I now need to put this into brackets. So I'm going to look at the two values I've got here. I've got 8h and I've got 12. Well, I can see that 8 is 4 times 2 times h, and 12 I can write as 4 times 3. So what I have in common here is I have a 4 here and a 4 here. So the 4 will go outside my brackets. I'm then left with 2 times h, which is 2h, the minus sign in the middle, and I'm left with the 3. Now that I've done that, I'm just going to quickly check by expanding the bracket. Four times 2h is 8h, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. I'm happy because I've checked my answer. Now the next question tells me to make m the subject, which means I need to end up with something that says m equals. So if I look at k plus m equals p, I can see from there that I have a k on the left hand side of the equation, which I need to move to the right. So I'm going to subtract k from that side, and I'm going to subtract k from that side. They cancel each other out, which leaves me with m equals p minus k. And the last question in this little set, find the value of g when u is negative 12 and d is negative 3. So I'm going to use my calculator to do the calculation of g equals negative 12 squared. Notice I'm using the brackets with a negative 12 minus 3. Okay, I'm now going to use my calculator and put that all into my calculator. So I've got bracket negative 12, close the bracket, squared, minus bracket negative 3, close bracket. Press my equals button and I get 147. And to the final question of the homework, it tells me to do things here. The command words are to expand and simplify. So I'm going to do two bar models for this. I'm going to do my 10, n plus 6, minus 2, n minus 5. Right, 10 times n is 10n. 10 times plus 6 is plus 60. Negative 2 times n is negative 2n. And negative 2 times negative 5 is plus 10, because a negative number multiplied by a negative number, I get a positive answer. So now I've got 10n plus 60 minus 2n plus 10. So I've got a 10n and I'm taking away 2n to leave me with 8n. Then lastly I've got 60 plus 10 to give me 70.